Hi everyone, and welcome to the session 1 of the Essential Elements Volunteer Development Training. So this was originally done as a workshop in October of 2016 at the Monroe County Extension Office, but definitely want everyone to be able to get the information even if they weren't able to attend. So this is definitely an alternate option. All of our trainings from here on out will hopefully have some kind of web-based video to go along with them, so if you missed the information you can get it this way. Of course, as always, you can always contact me and I'm happy to go over any training that we've done with anyone who would like to. So the essential elements of positive youth development, that's what we're talking about. That's what we will be talking about for probably the next 2 years in Monroe County 4-H volunteer trainings. This is really important information, and we need to make sure it's at the forefront when we're working with youth always. So the first thing we're going to do is just a get to know you activity. Now I realize that I'm in my office and you're going to view this at some time later, but just take this activity. It's something you could do with your office or team, or maybe you need something for work, a quick team building activity to get to know people. That's fun. Feel free to use it wherever you can. So we had a lot of fun at the training with this, but what it is it's a vanity plate, so you just need a piece of white paper. We use cardstock at the training, but the example they gave, so if I was Bob, Bob's example is pizza lover. So that's his vanity plate. Now, a vanity plate is just like a license plate. It can be up to 8 characters. It doesn't have to be 8 characters though. So take a minute, I'll show you mine. So I'm Katie, if you don't know me, and I chose 4-H EE, stands for 4-H Extension Educator. So take just a couple minutes, figure out what yours would be. If you're watching this with someone else, share it with them and enjoy the opportunity to have a little fun. Alright, so as we move on from our icebreaker, we are going to talk about this very first session. It's all about learning what positive youth development involves. The training likens positive youth development to a pizza. And on a pizza, there's many different ingredients. They look different in when you go to Papa John's, or maybe we're going to go to Domino's or Avers or Pizza X. All the pizzas might look different. They might have different toppings, but we can identify them as pizza. So positive youth development looks different. There's different vehicles for positive youth development all over the world and even all over our community. But what you and I have both chosen to be a part of is the 4-H the 4-H's version of positive youth development, and that is what 4-H is all about. It's about positively encouraging our youth to be their best self and to learn whatever interests them. So with that, we just want to go over some key pieces of positive youth development. So if you think of a pizza as a round circle, it has 8 slices. Positive youth development has 8 essential elements that we can discuss and make sure that our 4-H program is using every single part of that pizza, every single piece of the pizza. So it's important to make sure that we're always interested in those 8 pieces. Maybe we're really used to eating 1 slice, but for a full-scale positive youth development program, we need to have all 8. It's not easy to have all 8. It's actually quite difficult. So just keep in mind, maybe you're really doing great with 5 out of 8. So then you just need to focus on those other 3. And your other 5 are probably going to, as long as you keep doing everything you have been, they're going to continue with you. So just as we continue to talk about this, I want you to take a couple minutes. You can pause the video if you'd like. Think about why you're here. Why are you a part of the 4-H movement? Why are you a 4-H volunteer? I'll give you my short story. I was a 10-year 4-H member, for those of you who don't know, and went to school for music performance. Really thought that was something I was interested in. Got through the majority of college and realized it wasn't. Music is a passion. When it became a job, it was no longer fun for me. So I was lucky to go home to Kokomo, Indiana, and get an internship in the Howard County Extension Office. And I was hooked. I was hooked on what 4-H looked like from the other side, what 4-H looks like in terms of positive youth development, what the kids in that county were doing. And I knew that I wanted to be an extension educator. That opportunity came to me a lot quicker than I thought it would. I became an extension educator just a year ago, but I've been loving every minute since. I think it's great that our kids get to experience what they want to, based on their interests and their values and everything that they want to look for in the world. So that's my short story. So take a minute and just think to yourself, why are you a 4-H volunteer? Alright, so I hope that by thinking about why you're a 4-H volunteer, that kind of renews your sense of purpose in our organization. You know, so many of you are working on things that I don't even know about, and I know you're doing great things. So thank you for that, and keep it up, and hopefully we can incorporate some new ideas and new activities as we go through this training. So for the next portion, if you found this video via the link to our website, then in that article should be a document that gives you a blank pizza. If you happen to be viewing this on YouTube, I will put a link to our article in the comments, so you can go there and get it. But so we've got our pizza here, and as you can see, it's got 8 slices. So you'll want to bring that document up for yourself, and just take some time, however long you need. Think about what you think the 8 essential elements are of positive youth development. So I'll give you the first one as an example, because it's you all. It's caring adults. It's people who encourage youth. It's people who want to watch youth succeed. So slice number 1, you can write down caring adults, and you're good to go on that one. So see if you can come up with the next 7. So take a couple minutes to do that. Pause the video while you take a couple minutes, and we'll come back to that. Okay, so now that you have come up with what you think are the 8 essential elements of positive youth development, I want you to see what you had in common with those that attended the training in person in October. So we had 2 groups that said leadership was a positive youth development, and they did these on sticky notes. So I'm going to try to show you the sticky notes as we go through them. And we're just going to go through them, see what you had the same, see what you had different, see what you would change. So we had tools and resources. Those are pretty important. Encouragement, education. We all know that's a big part of 4-H. We are here to educate our young people and to let them educate us. Commitment, also very important. New experiences. We don't learn if we do the same things over and over again, so I like that one a lot. Communications. So we've got to be able to talk to each other, however that is. We know with youth today, it changes all the time. And then a safe environment. I would definitely say that's important. Contribution definitely helps when people are contributing. Community support. That's one thing, especially in the 4-H community itself. We get a lot of support, and I see a lot of support for our young people, so that's important to make sure we keep that up. And then citizenship or community service. Definitely that's one of the 4-H's, and we definitely think that's important. So see, compare, what did you have the same, what did you have different? And then we're going to go through the 8 essential elements, and I think you'll be surprised at some of them, but all of these sticky notes, they line up with at least one, if not multiple, of those essential elements. Okay, it's time to go over those 8 essential elements, and I have gone through and put the post-it notes with the different elements that they go with. So keep in mind that that's just my opinion, and all of those things are important, and maybe they go with a different piece of the pie than I think they go with. That's okay if you disagree with me, but keep in mind it's all important. So it's all crucial that we have everything, all of the pieces, all of the parts, all of the toppings in our positive youth development program. So the first one I gave to you is caring adults. So it's our first piece of the pizza. So it's essential that we have caring adults that are with our youth and around our youth to give them a positive relationship and give them something, someone that they can look up to, someone who gives them boundaries and expectations, and someone who's a supporter or a friend or an advocate. All of those roles, all of those pieces of being a caring adult are essential in our positive youth development program. And I put encouragement, the post-it note with encouragement, because we should always encourage our youth, especially their positive behaviors and when they're learning something and when they're approaching mastery, which is another element. So, number 2, a safe environment. Now this one may seem, you may say, well, of course, Katie, you need a safe environment, but we have to be diligent about that safe environment. It needs to be safe for physical and emotional, mental health. So it's important that we're watching what youth are doing, we're watching what they're saying to each other, and making sure that we're correcting behavior that is unbecoming of our youth. So I put that with safe environment. That one made pretty good sense to me. So just make sure that when you have a club meeting or you do a workshop that you're worried about everyone's physical, emotional, and mental health, because all 3 of those components are important. Our third one is an inclusive environment. So it's our third piece of the puzzle. Now this one, an inclusive environment creates a sense of belonging, and it encourages and supports its members. And it gives positive, specific feedback. So you can definitely give youth some feedback, and maybe it's not feedback that they want to hear, but it still can be specific, and it still can be in a positive manner, so that the youth knows that you're trying to help them and you're encouraging them to be their best self and to make their best better. Healthy groups and healthy clubs are they celebrate the success of all of their members, not just one group or one person or one part. So be sure that you're encouraging the success of all of your members. You're celebrating that success. It's really easy to get wrapped up, especially around fair time, that we want that certain color ribbon or that certain award. But getting out there and doing it and learning while going through that process is really what we're here for. So encourages the celebration of everyone. And I put tools and resources on the back of that piece because those tools and resources can be used to help us make an inclusive environment. Now those 3 pieces go with our first concept. So there are 4 concepts with the 8 essential elements. So caring adults, a safe environment, and an inclusive environment all go with the concept of belonging. So helping our youth belong to our organization. If that helps you break it down even further or do bigger topics. So our 4th essential element is engagement in learning. So there's that. Figuring out the webcam here. There's that piece of pie. So engaged youth are mindful of the subject matter, they're building relationships, and they're increasing their capacity for creativity. Engaged youth are going to be creative longer. They're going to want to keep going no matter what you're talking about. If you're talking about the digestive system of a goat and you're engaging them, then they're going to want to stay and learn as much as they can and talk about it and talk with their friends and teach each other as well. So be sure that you're looking around the room during club meetings, during guest speakers, during workshops, and see if your youth are engaged. If they're not engaged, maybe something's going on, but maybe there's something you can do to make your meeting more engaging. If you are talking about how to pass a motion in a meeting, teaching younger youth about Robert's Rules of Order, take some time and come up with a script, get a script off the internet, and have them do a fake motion, but actually go through those actions so they can be engaged and they're not just sitting there listening to a presenter. So on engagement and learning, I put education and new experiences. because we all know we get more engaged when we get to learn something new. Communications, definitely important. And contribution, all definitely parts of engagement and learning. So the fifth concept I sometimes struggle with a little bit on exactly what it means in 4-H to develop mastery. Mastery is our fifth element, and mastery is the process of becoming a master at a skill. So it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't even happen within a year. We're experiencing mastery after we've done something multiple times. If a youth comes to us in 3rd grade and they are going to start a basket weaving as a miscellaneous craft, then they're not going to master that right away. They might master a part of it, and that's definitely important. But we're going to expect them that when they're in their 8th year, 9th year, 10th year, that's when they're going to start developing that mastery. That's why 4-H is a 10-year program. It's not just 1 or 2 years and then you're done, get out. We want youth to stay with us as long as possible to develop that mastery. So there's that. And on the back I put the post-it note commitment, because we have to commit to our learning in order to create that mastery. And you as adults have to commit to providing this positive youth development opportunity for youth, for them to develop the mastery. So those two concepts, engagement and learning and mastery, go under the concept of mastery. So that's the big concept there. So it's important to engage in learning in order to develop that mastery. Our next concept, big concept, has 2 pieces in it as well. It's independence. So our first one is seeing oneself in the future. So this is about helping youth set goals. It is about helping youth have the optimism to know that they can shape their life, that they can just determine where they want to go, what they want to be, what they want to learn especially. 4-H gives them the opportunity to learn about 80+ projects, go on many trips, many camps. Definitely a big opportunity there. So seeing oneself in the future is important. We didn't have any post-its that I felt went with that, but maybe you did, so definitely good if you had those. The next concept the next essential element under independence is the opportunity for self-determination. So what that means is believing that you have an impact over your life events rather than being a passive member in your life. So youth know that they can make a choice and that's going to affect their life. And sometimes that choice can be a negative influence, but we're definitely gunning for them to choose those positive, make those positive life decisions as part of our program and as part of their learning. So they can choose to learn about welding, and then maybe that leads to a career in welding someday, and they can look back on 4-H as where they found that passion. So with self-determination, I put leadership, definitely, and there were 2 for that one. So leadership is definitely a form of self-determination. If you decide to lead a group, you are definitely acknowledging that you can make a difference. Our last concept and our last essential element go hand in hand. So our concept, the big concept, is generosity, and our last piece of the puzzle is service. And I know that this is something, especially in Monroe County, we are very good at. We're good at recognizing service, what service means, and our youth are so willing to help each other and help the community. So that went with citizenship and community service. So just keep that up. If you ever need service ideas, you can contact other clubs. I'm sure you're all happy to share. If you are a project superintendent, and it'd be great to come up with a service surrounding your project area. That's another way to get youth involved and known as service learning. So those are the 8 essential elements. I'm going to take, you can pause this video for just a second if you'd like to write any notes, take any feedback, or just think about what you've learned so far. All right, so it's time to see what your mastery of this information is like. And like I said, when we talked about mastery, mastery takes time. And so don't be discouraged if it takes you a little while or you have to go back and look and see where you think these cards go. But I've got 3 cards that say different statements on them, and we're going to see which essential element they go with. And then I'm going to give you 3 more cards for you to determine on your own. There also, when we did this activity in person in October, everyone got in groups and they talked together through a series of different cards. So I'm going to post those statements so you can see what they were. If you get together, if you're a club leader, get together with your co-leaders. If you're a project superintendent, get together with other superintendents or camp staff volunteers. You can get together and talk about this. So take the opportunity, have a conversation about these 8 essential elements. That'll help it sink in even more. So the first one is, the group has a goal-setting meeting each year. So take a second and see where you think that goes. I put this one in seeing oneself in the future. So youth are able to predict or set a goal for themselves to achieve in 6 months to a year. So they're seeing themselves in that future as part of that group. All right, here's our next one. The accomplishments of the group are celebrated. So that's, we're getting together, we're saying, congratulations, everyone, you did a great job. We're being inclusive. So this is an inclusive environment, very important in our 4-H program. And our last one we'll do together is adults evaluate demonstrations and give constructive feedback. So I put that in caring adults. You could also put that in inclusive environment, depending on, are they evaluating everyone's? Are they giving positive feedback to everyone? I hope that you are. And if you're in a club and you're thinking, well, we don't do demonstrations, then that's definitely an opportunity to give your youth some leadership opportunity, some mastery opportunity, is to ask them to do a 5-minute demonstration. It can be just for you. It could be for the entire club. It could be, you could break up and do a roundtable style demonstration. That's definitely a part of 4-H that I would like to see us integrate even more into our program. So I'll read these 3 off to you. Just think about what you think. If you have any questions, you can email me or call me, and I'm happy to discuss them with you. So, youth help develop program rules and boundaries in consultation with adults. Every point of view is acknowledged. And finally, adults greet youth as they arrive. So think about where those go, and we're going to move on to the last part of our training here in just a second. All right, so now it's time to wrap up what we've gone over already today, but it's important to think about what we've talked about and figure out how we're going to apply that in the future. So first, we're going to do a little generalization. Think about the essential elements that we've gone over today and how you've seen them in action, maybe how they apply to different youth organizations that you've seen, or even how they apply to your club, your project, or the youth that you're working with in our 4-H program. Think about to what degree all of those essential elements are present. Do you give youth one opportunity to demonstrate their mastery? Could you incorporate more? Do you feel like you need another adult to help you, so the presence of caring adults and to help make an inclusive environment is even more prevalent? And think about how you can incorporate the essential elements that you might be missing. Like we discussed earlier, it's difficult. It's not easy to incorporate all 8 of these pieces all the time. And different activities lend themselves to different parts of it. But as a whole, we're striving to have these 8 pieces in our positive youth development program through 4-H. And then let's take some time to go over how we can apply this training, because it's important to take what you have learned and go back to whatever setting you're working with in our 4-H program, be that camp, be that clubs, superintendents, maybe you're running a new Spark Club. It's important to have all of these ready to go. So what are some ways that you can provide opportunities to develop any of those essential elements? So in our county 4-H program. So can you think of something your club could do? Maybe your officers can take on a leadership role and provide a demonstration fair for the whole county. Maybe you can come up with a project fair at a local school. So what could you do to help any of those elements, whatever one you want to focus on, to be more prevalent in our program? Consider what element you think is your strength. Consider what ones you think are your weakness. And then talk about that with any of the other adults that you're working with. Talk about what their strengths and weaknesses are. So that way you can come at the program knowing what you need to focus on and what happens more naturally for you. And then how can you make these improvements? So it's great to talk about, well, this is something we need to improve on. I do that all the time in my head. But really take a minute, write down 3 goals. Write down 3 goals for the year that I'm going to implement these essential elements by doing this. This is how it is going to work for me. So it's really important to write that down. Keep it in your 4-H stuff. Keep it with you in your wallet, in your car, wherever you're going to look at it, so it's a reminder of this training and what you have set out to do for this next year. All right, and that is the end of our Session 1 Essential Elements training. Thank you for tuning in and watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. There is a link in the article to a Qualtrics survey. Please make sure to do that. I know you took the training if you send me the survey. If you have any questions, reach out. My email will be on that page. You can call the office also. I'd love to talk to you about any of this information, and we hope to see you at the next training. We'll be going over Session 2 of the Essential Elements. It will also be provided in a web-based format. So thank you all for tuning in, and get me those surveys in as soon as you can.